most people are capable of significantly shifting the output of a physical random number generator using only their intention. Okay? It's very easy to measure statistically. It's a super simple experiment, but it's such a clear way of isolating that most important question. Is consciousness contained in our brain, or does it somehow spread out, or does it connect to physical reality in some way that we're just not necessarily seeing? The last experiments we did before the lab shut down was the plant experiment. And this is a crowd pleaser. The experiment we call the plant reg, or plant random event generator. And it goes like this. You have a room with no windows, and you have a growing light in the middle of the room, and that light can shine in one of 4 corners. So only one corner of the room is going to get light shone on it. And you look to see if it was still shining in all 4 corners equally, and it wasn't. In fact, it was shining much more often in the corner of the room in which the plant was located. A rarefied glimpse at what I believe consciousness itself does, meaning it's not just the power of intention that we're talking about here. It's life itself is affecting the physical world around it to bring to it the things that it needs for its survival and for its growth. It just seems like that's what consciousness really is doing in the physical world. You could interpret this as being something like this. The physical world is a technology of consciousness, meaning the physical world is a technology that has allowed consciousness to express itself in this physical dimension. A 4th class of experiment, I guess, which is machine-to-machine psychic research. As far as I know, there's only been one experiment in this capacity done, which I did with a colleague, Garrett Medell, about 10 years ago. So what I wanted to do was create some sort of experiment in which, similar to the Daryl Bem stuff, similar to the earthworms, you could scare a machine or frighten an electronic circuit somehow, and then measure it in a way that shows you that it's reacting. This first experiment, the odds against chance of that happening were greater than 1 in 30 million, because it was a machine that was predicting the future with great accuracy. In fact, the odds against chance of that outcome was greater than 1 in a billion. To put that in perspective, the 20 years of the Global Consciousness Project and the IONS data, I mean, it's more significant than all of that combined. Work is that our expectations of what is possible ends up influencing the results. And if we're talking about something as significant as what I just described, I mean, those 3 things itself is like brain melting, right? It's nuts. There could be a suppressing effect on behalf of consensus reality, like the cumulative subconscious belief system of everyone that it would impact, which is everyone, that actually squashes the results. The Pear Lab has a project called the Global Consciousness Project, which has about 100 of these random number generators spread around the world. They're all sending their data to a central place. The idea is that if collective consciousness is something like a field, then having a bunch of these spread around the world will tell you something about the behavior of that field of consciousness. Okay. And on September 11th, famously, the entire network itself became more coherent. So they were all like covariant, meaning the random number generators behaved like one another. And this began a few hours before the first plane struck, and it became more and more coherent to itself throughout the day. Very significant and anomalous effect. To think that the GCP is actually showing us something about the interconnected nature of consciousness, whether it's time reversed or whether it's presentiment. I think that's a sacred experiment, and debate the details, but I think that there's a bigger truth there to take away.